You are listening to the We Hired a Sitter for This podcast.
We hired a sitter for this.
We have a roster of like 7 sitters.
I'm spending $3,000 on paints.
Do you go to therapy?
Never have, nah.
There was a small fire. I put it out.
Real talk, the stakes are too high with my baby.
Comedy, parenting, marriage, life.
We do it all.
I'm a dad and I'm busy.
I have an opinion. I don't know if it'll be right, but
I'm Patrick.
my name is Gaston.
We hired a sitter.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to We Hired a Sitter for This. My name is Patrick Holbert. This is my podcast, rolling solo again. I don't care. I'm happy to be with you. Thanks for coming along. What's up? How's this view? I feel like I am probably sitting in the worst possible setting. My balls, my junk is right there. I've got black jeans on. I'm dressed. I'm wearing this because my hair is really out of control. My hair is looking weird. Ross took a picture of me at a brunch the other day, lunch. It was actually an afternoon tea. Maybe I can tell that story. And I didn't look good in this picture. It really made me uncomfortable to look at myself in this photograph. My hair is crazy. It's like long and lettucey. It looks like a head of lettuce, my hair, the way it constructs itself. I would take my hat off, but I shampooed this morning, and when I shampoo, it just makes everything so fluffy. So it's not attractive, but whatever, who cares? Last week's episode has 2 views on YouTube, so nobody's watching anyway. Last week's episode, I was sick as a dog, so I recorded from bed on my laptop. You can hear all kinds of sounds in the audio. So I've decided, like, when I do these renegade episodes, these solo episodes, the least I can do is record with one of these microphones. It sounds much better. But I'm recording on my iPhone and on this audio recorder. And this is episode 176, I believe. So we've done 176 of these episodes in different formats with different co-hosts, with some with guests over the years, some with none. I think this is like my 4th episode in a row that's solo. And I'm just going to kind of lean into this for a little while my life is so chaotic. Life is kind of insane right now. And not for any like great reasons. We are just like all over the place. And so, yeah, if I can use this next 20 minutes or whatever to kind of reconnect and check in, I think that's fine. Is this accurate time? Is it? I believe it's 10:45 a.m. on Tuesday, February 18th, 2025. Hello. Are you listening on the 19th of February? Because this will come out on the 19th of February, which is my wedding anniversary. 8 years ago, Ross and I got married at Hill Country Barbecue in downtown Brooklyn on Adams Street near Borough Hall. It was like a June day. It was a February day, but it felt like a June day. It was like unseasonably hot that day. It was kind of crazy and sort of perfect for getting married. So anyway, yeah, it's 8 years married. Every day a gift. Every day a wonderful gift of love and connection. And we had Valentine's Day the other day. And it's kind of crazy we have a child. It's like wild that we have a child. And we didn't have Peggy yet when we got married. That's interesting. So 8 years ago, we didn't have Peggy or Franny. It was just the 2 of us crazy kids getting married in 2017. Without any clue what our life would look like now. We did live in this apartment. I didn't expect to talk about my marriage at all on this episode. I was going to start with a little, I don't even know if this is a story, but just a thing from a few weeks ago. So I work the Grizzly Pear Comedy Club. That's like one of the main clubs that I get booked at regularly. It's a bar room, kind of down and dirty comedy show in the back of this bar in the West Village. And I'm grateful for the spots and the work. It's always a good time. It's always sort of unexpected what you're going to see there. And I get booked on some midnight shows sometimes. I said yes to all these midnight shows for January. And so I guess this goes back to January. I believe this was January. Who knows? Anyway, I was booked on a midnight show on a Wednesday night. And the hit rate of these shows actually happening is, I think, less than 50-50. There are tons of midnight shows that I go all the way to the West Village to find out, hey, we're not going to do a show. We only got 3 people to come in or whatever. So I am putting together my night for this one night, and I get a text from Nathan Lee saying, hey, can't wait to see you at your show tonight. Possibly the one person to check my website for my dates. Check it out, patrickholbert.com. And he saw that I had this gig on my show, my list of shows, and him and his wife bought tickets, or his fiance, and they were the 2 people that bought tickets that night. So I get to the Grizzly Pear. I drove in because I think I was coming from another show. Can't remember why exactly I drove in, but he was there. We met up and we ended up chatting. We had this like great little chat and hang, and I informed them like, hey, I'm so grateful you came out, but the show is not happening, so I'll just like drive you guys back to your hotel, because at that point it's like 12:30 in the morning on a Wednesday in frigid New York City. And I wish, if it was the old day, you know, if I was childless and had the energy, I would say, let's go to a diner, let's get like a late night meal or something. But either way, even just those 20 or 30 minutes that we probably spent together, maybe 40, I don't know, because we kind of hung around at the bar for a few minutes and then got in the car and drove to their hotel. It just, it really warmed my heart that I've known this guy since, I want to say like 93. He like moved to the town I grew up in when I was in like 6th grade. I think he moved, and he was in my sister's grade. So he moved to Walk Hill in 5th grade for him. And I think that would make it 93 or so. And I just, I don't know, it just warmed my heart to know that I've known this guy for, 2023 would make it 30 years, right? So over 30 years I've known this person, and him and I are now in our early 40s. That just feels crazy. It feels crazy that I've known anybody for that amount of time. And his fiance was super cool. I don't know if it's my news to share, but that, they have lots of good news in their life. And he lives out in Los Angeles, and it's just like living his dreams, like doing like cool stuff with his life. And we just kind of checked in about like both sets of parents, like how, like any kind of like parental scuttlebutt or whatever. And I don't know. It felt cool. I don't want to get into specifics about either of our home lives, because I don't really know what. But like we just, I always tell people like it was a very latchkey kid environment that I grew up in. Like a lot of getting home from school at 2:30 or 3:30 or whatever, and then having those couple of unsupervised hours to get into all kinds of trouble, and then summer breaks, of course. So back in the day, it was like we did a lot of rollerblading and street hockey. Like we played so much street hockey, which led to just rollerblading and like learning crazy tricks on rollerblades and ruining property on rollerblades and getting hated on by skateboarders, which I still have beef about. I want to make a stand for all the rollerbladers out there, I will say my Instagram algorithm is like a lot of drums, skateboarding, rollerblading, and women with big jugs. I don't know why the algorithm thinks I have any interest in looking at women with big jugs, because I don't. I do not want to see that stuff. So Instagram, stop showing it to me. And it's a lot of tattooed, pretty hot ladies. I don't want to see that. But the rollerblading and the skateboarding, so I see it a lot, and I do admit skateboarding is definitely the cooler sport. It's cooler. It's probably a lot more difficult. Like I do think the skill level is insane. Like watching like what really talented skateboarders can do is definitely objectively more impressive than what very talented rollerbladers can do. But rollerblading was fun as hell. It's so fun how fast you can go. And there are hard things to learn, and there's like really daring things you can do on rollerblades. And the highly skilled rollerbladers, it is like a whole different thing. It's like its own form of acrobatics that skateboarders do obviously do, but like, I don't know. I think the bummer about it is that figure skating, for lack of a better term, just for the shorthand, figure skating looks gay, right? It looks gay. You assume any dude who's doing that must be gay, whatever. But these are like insanely talented athletes. And by the way, of course, homosexuality, being gay, nothing wrong with it. I accept all people, respect all people. I guess I'm speaking from the perspective of the typical American male, my own repressed sexuality, 13-year-old boys who don't like the way something looks if it's a little too feminine, whatever. So I know how problematic it is that I just used the word gay in this whatever. I'm just saying, objectively, a lot of young wannabe macho boys think figure skating looks feminine, and rollerblading must be also. But rollerblading is so fucking fun, and it's really hard, and it's really impressive to see some of the stuff that people do on them. But I guess I'm just saying, when I'm looking at Instagram, I'm like, oh God, here comes a fruit booter again. But look at this cool skateboard guy who's skateboard dudes. I'm like, that guy's smoking cigarettes, he's drinking beers, and then he's doing really cool, intricate stuff with his body. Rollerbladers, I'm like, oh God, they're not doing anything cool. They're not even listening to good music. And I guess it's self-hating, because I love to rollerblade still. I should be rollerblading daily. That is such good exercise. I love to do it. And my body is like really decrepit right now. I didn't do a good job of defending rollerbladers. I just talked more shit about rollerblading. Anyway, I think rollerblading's cool. Get out there, do crazy stuff, have fun, film it, put it on Instagram. There's so many like funny looking dudes on there that are repetitive. Like I now I recognize different guys' styles. There's 3 or 4 guys that keep coming up. And if I get back out there on my blades, I'm not going to be doing tricks. I'm just doing it to move my hips. You know, I got to move these hips. I got to open these pelvic floors. I got to open my chakras. I got to move my body. I'm going to get bursitis if I don't keep moving. Like, bursitis is a joint thing, I think. And, damn, I played tennis yesterday with a client. We went and knocked around some balls for like an hour, and my ankles, my knees, everything's sore. The bottoms of my feet especially are pretty sore, but it feels good to have moved my body as much as I did. So anyway, Nathan Lee and I, along with Will Carney and Ryan Bell, Mitch and Matt Starr, we just had this gang of dudes that we were always blading around, building these huge jumps, doing crazy stuff. I think I had a good reputation as being somebody who like was good at it, and like I was pretty brave and I would do some crazy stuff. Ryan Bell got really technically good, and like he was always very talented. He was an amazing snowboarder. And we would just like do that all day and night. Especially in the summer, it was just these like crazy long days. And then we would like hang out in Will's fort. He had a fort in his backyard, which was really just like a shed. And that's where we like, you know, found archival issues of sexually positive literature magazines. And we would like check stuff out and look at that kind of stuff together. I remember I was kind of a shitty friend with some of that stuff. Like I remember, like we would do the doorknob thing. If you farted, was what is doorknob? If you fart and then somebody says doorknob, if you don't find a doorknob to touch, you just get the shit kicked out of you until you do. I remember one time I remember punching Mitch Starr in the balls so hard. I think I really hurt the guy. And of course, this is, I'm 13, 14, 15 years old. So like we were kids, but like, man, I could be really brutal sometimes. Anyway, yeah, just thinking about Nathan and just grateful to know this guy for as long as I do. I mean, it's interesting, like how, like, there's not really a closeness there. I mean, we lived on the same block here in Brooklyn for a few years there, and we saw each other a couple times. It's just interesting. The older you get into adulthood, you become so engrossed in your own life that it's hard to maintain these relationships. And I think it's pretty like out there that people are talking about grown men struggling with intimate friendships with other men. And I think that's true for me. Like I have a couple guys that I love and I feel close with and I can share anything with, but I don't have like functional day-to-day friendships with people like that. I do a fair amount of texting with a couple people, but not as much as I should. So I don't know. Stuff to think about. So anyway, what's happening? What is happening? I'm trying to think. I wrote a little list of topics to talk about on the podcast today. And Nathan, just making sure I brought that up, was one of those things. I guess I'll give a disclaimer too. I have to run like soon. So I don't know how much I'm going to record, and perhaps I'll record more of this elsewhere. I mean, I could be recording on the car ride I'm doing an overnight shift in another state for a client. So I will be in the car for a few hours. I have a business call coming up. I have spent the last several days trying to negotiate some work, some comedy editing work, and that is finally coming together in a way that I think makes sense. Ross and I are just both hustling, trying to get some work together to be able to pay next month's bills. It's crazy how much freelancing involves. Like, okay, I got to do the work I got to do today, but I also have to do this admin work to like make sure I have other work next week or next month or whatever. And we're both pretty sick of it, but we also don't want real jobs. What are we supposed to do, America? And what I'm resenting most about the current administration and the chaos that's happening like at the top with Elon and Trump is I feel like it's all going to have this trickle down effect where people are not optimistic about business in general or making stuff in general. So when the optimism goes away, people are like, well, I don't want to go pay this random guy a bunch of money to like make my film or make stuff for us or whatever. Like we have to like, everybody like clutches their resources because they're like, well, we can't sell this project or this film or these specials or whatever to anybody. So we can't pay somebody to help us make it. So that's what I'm scared is going to happen. And yeah, it's making me resent the billionaires and the way things are set up now. It's really kind of creepy that we are in a situation where none of us own much of anything. We pay these subscription fees to all these different services, and so much of that money is getting funneled to the corporations or the corporate structures or investors or the billionaires at the top. And then we enjoy the content or whatever product it is we're subscribing to. But the artists who are in the content, like I'm thinking of Spotify, like it's crazy how I pay $12 a month for Spotify. I listen to a ton of different stuff, and I feel horrible that the artists who I'm enjoying most aren't getting enough of the cut of the money. And I know that I am a part of the problem, but I also can't afford to just buy multiple albums of all these different artists I like. I don't know. Billionaires are on the mind, of course. So I just really hate how much it feels like we are just going to be stuck in this until there's like a crazy revolution of some kind, you know? We haven't ordered anything on Amazon in a little while, but we are Amazon Prime customers, so that's a yearly subscription fee. We use Spotify and Netflix. HBO Max, I think we kind of siphon off from our parents. Hulu, we do pay for. I pay for an editing software once a month. And then the social media you don't pay for, but you are the product. You know, there's this old saying that mass media doesn't exist to bring entertainment to audiences. It exists to bring audiences to advertisers. So social media doesn't exist for us all to have these like pleasant relationships online. It exists so that our eyeballs and our attention can be sold to advertisers and we can be exposed to advertisements. And that's a prison. It's a prison of attention, right? They are fighting tooth and nail for every ounce of our attention that they can to sell airtime, essentially, in these like newly laser focused slots of airtime. It's not commercials. Of course, commercials on the Super Bowl are the famous example of like, yeah, commercial time costs money and people pay for that money. But now they're paying for the airtime inside your head and in your eyeballs, and it's working. Like I'm fucking addicted to my phone. You know, like we were just up in at the in-laws. My family's still up there. I'm podcasting alone in an empty house right now. That's how sad my life is. This morning, I miss them so much. I brushed my teeth in the kitchen sink to pretend like my kid and my wife are home. Because when everybody's home here, it's chaos everywhere, and you got to brush your teeth wherever you can brush them. That's a sidebar. Oh yeah, we were up. All of us were up at the in-laws over the weekend, and I catch myself just scrolling to like check out, or like I'm scrolling because we have extra help. We've got both my in-laws helping out with child rearing stuff or whatever. And I'm just like, why am I on my phone? I'm not like talking to anybody. I'm not connecting with anybody. Just because I finally have some like space to breathe, I'm going to like go on my phone. What am I even looking for on there? I mean, none of this is new. This is all stuff we all complain about. But I guess what's got it fresh on my mind is that it's pretty fucking creepy that all the billionaires who own Meta, so it's Meta, and then Musk, I guess, is X, and Tesla, of course, Bezos from Amazon. I think Peter Thiel was there. Like, I'm just thinking of all the billionaires like in Trump's section during the inauguration or whatever footage that was from. I'm just like, it's crazy that these people have these attention farms. These are just attention farms that they run. And we all just, I'm just addicted to it. I'm sucked into it. And it doesn't feel real anymore. Like I am having like some real existential doubts that any of this is real. I'm like, is this all just a simulation? I mean, this is me starting to come apart at the seams, right? That I'm even entertaining this as a possibility. One thing that gives me hope is seeing Louis. I know Louis is a controversial comedian, but I saw him at a show recently, and I don't want to spoil his bit, but he did this whole bit about how we can't possibly be in a simulation because if you think of the minutia of daily life and the various products involved with it, the example he uses is when you open a pack of chicken breasts, you take out the slimy chicken breast, and then underneath is this like that layer of that pad, you know, like the that soaks up the juice or whatever it does in the tray. He gets into the details of that pad itself, and he's like, in a simulation they wouldn't have this thing. It wouldn't exist. And of course, he delivers all of this in a hilarious way, but that is giving me actual hope that like we're just in we're just in a weird reality. Like life is weird. There are coincidences, and it's all starting to feel like a simulation because I'm doing so much living through my fucking phone. So anyway, where was I? Oh, the billionaires. So yeah, Bill Burr was on his podcast recently, kind of saying some like real truths about how the billionaires and the ruling class, they do everything they can to A, steal all of our attention, and B, have us all in conflict with each other all the time. Because if they can get the left and the right to fight with each other, then nobody's fighting with them. And so that might be a way to reposition it. It's like there's the left and the right, but there's also the top. And we need to start looking at the top for ways they can be making concessions for the way their world works, because their world works on profit. All they care about is profit, return on investment, building their companies, and that's how they make money, and they always will make money. And they just don't care about the well-being of any of us, especially the people at the lowest levels of the class system. So Bill Burr's on his podcast. The phrase he says in there that got all the headlines was, these guys need to be put down like dogs. And it did get me thinking about how like billionaires are a cancer. They are a literal cancer on society, because if you thought of society like one single organism, which I think there's a good argument that we are, like if the earth is a body, and every human being on this planet is a tiny little cell in this single organism, all sort of working together to keep the overall health of the overall body going. Billionaires, I would argue, do some of the most damage. And they are like cancer cells, because their job is to come in and figure out how to leach all of the nourishment away from the other cells, or leach off a lot of those nourishing resources. So they want originally, I guess it was probably the wealthy wanted the best spices around the world, or the best gold in the ground, the best iron ore, anything valuable. They wanted to hoard it for themselves to then be able to resell to other people. And now it's they want to leech all the money. Like, it comes back to the subscription fees. It's like they just want to farm from all of us in the lower classes. They want to farm our money away from us for the products that they then sell back to us, like the products. So it's like content, or obviously real products, whatever the fuck. And they just don't care. They don't care about keeping all of the other cells healthy at all. It's just like, how do we take all the nourishing resources for ourselves and not spread it around? And how do we grow our own population? So they only care about their peers who are also super wealthy, and they want to grow their own corporations. And basically the corporations that they run are sort of, is metastasized a bad thing? They're like the most malignant tumors are their own companies. Like Amazon is a malignant tumor, right? Because it keeps buying out small companies that start out organically and like create a cool thing. And then Amazon's like, well, that's profitable, so we'll just buy you. Can we buy you? And then they absorb that group of healthy cells, and the people can't say no. There's certain money you can't say no to. So these healthy cells are like, yeah, we'll just please absorb us and give us that payoff. And the cycle continues. So yeah, I picture Amazon and Trump himself and Elon Musk now just as these cancer cells that are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because the money they have is just too enticing. They're too wealthy. And it's, and I guess the only way to reverse any of it would be just like a mass change of behavior. Like we would all have to just stop giving our money to any of these people. But that's where I have like such personally conflicting feelings, because I'm like, well, if individual consumers all grouped up and said, we're done, we're not going to consume any of this shit you're selling us, then I'm like, well, how am I going to make a living? You know, like I make videos. I'm a comedian. I worked on TV shows forever. Like the TV shows I made are a part of all of this machinery. And like art films, like the documentary I have coming out, like I'm so proud of it. It's a beautiful thing we made, but is it realistically a way to make a living? Like if I could make one of those every year and get paid to do it in a way that can support just like my like, I don't even want to get rich. I just want to be able to like pay for my life, you know, pay the mortgage, keep my wife and child healthy, keep the dog healthy, be able to put away money for savings and retirement. Like that's another thing Ross and I talked about the other day, very briefly until we both got spooked. It's like, we're 40. I'm 43. She's 42. What do we got? Like 20 more years of like meaningful work? Like, are we just going to work until we die? Like we don't have anything that looks like a retirement. So, and it just used to be, you hear about the American dream where it was like, you know, you could buy a house, you could work a 9 to 5, make a good living, send your kids to school, and have a retirement. And I just don't know how that's going to happen. I hope it will, you know. Is this a depressing episode? It feels like I've gone down a road that I don't know how to get out of. But the point is, we are hustling, we are working. I came back to New York yesterday, Monday morning. I saw 3 clients yesterday. I'm seeing 2 clients today. It's looking like Franny might stay at the in-laws, like alone, while Ross and I come back to New York to work more at the end of this week. It's kind of crazy. It's all a little nuts, but it's all going to be okay, right? Like, I wish if Trump was going to come in and do all this cowboy shit, I wish it was like exciting and like it felt like, oh yeah, like he wants to stoke like optimistic spending. Like he wants to make America great again in the sense of like, yeah, let's make cool stuff in this country. Let's export cool products. And like how come, like, instead of just like shutting down all these federal jobs, why not first try to prop up the private sector? Like, why not say, okay, how do we get all the work that Apple does overseas? How do we get you manufacturing here? How do we do it sustainably and with good technology and like safe for the environment? Maybe there is a way to compromise on what that would cost. Because of course it's all for cheap labor. That's why everything's made in China or India or whatever. But like, isn't there a way to like compromise? Like all the people who want to work in this country, could they sign up for like low pay in exchange for housing and a community or something? Like there's all these ghost towns across this country. Like, what if you were like, hey, yeah, you get a free apartment in this cool old neighborhood or building or whatever. You get a free apartment. We'll hook you up with childcare. We'll subsidize this through the government. You're only going to get minimum wage or possibly less than minimum wage, but find a state with the lowest minimum wage, but you're going to make cool technology that we're going to sell around the world. I don't even know. It's like, couldn't Trump find a way to be that guy? Like, I don't know. I guess I'm an idealist. I don't know anything either. I just feel so stupid right now. Like, I just feel like this is all so distressing and over my head that I don't even know what the answer could be. But I'm still an idealist, I guess. I don't know. Sometimes I fantasize about us just going somewhere else. There are other states where it's much cheaper to live. Anyway, I don't think this is entertaining at all, but it's another episode. I'm just shout out to my brother who, he heard me say on last week's episode that, because I recorded on Wednesday last week. Yeah, I was so sick. I felt like shit, but I recorded that 20-minute episode and I was like, it just feels important to put one out every week. And my brother texted me immediately to say, for what it's worth, I appreciate that you put it out. So if this is the only way that my brother and I communicate, then I'm going to keep doing this podcast. And PJ, I'm kidding, of course. He called me this morning and I'm like sitting across from a client and I couldn't pick up. My brother's so good about like staying in touch and I'm not the best at it. My sister is too. My sister, I love my sister to death. She's amazing. This is the shout out portion of the show where I just tell my siblings I love them so that they know it. Cause I'm not getting on the phone with anybody. Like I'm not the best dude right now, but, doing the best I can. Again, I've got dates coming up. I'll be in Wisconsin and Chicago from the last weekend of February through the first weekend of March. I will be in Fairfield, Connecticut this Saturday night. Fairfield, Connecticut, Fairfield Comedy Circle. I'll be there with Dan Altano, Charlie Nadler, and Cody Montagna. I think you say it Montagna. I've never worked with Cody, but he's an upstate guy, really funny. And the three of us are co-headlining. Dan's going to host. Dan is an amazing comic. It'll be a really fun show. I got a bunch of people from college coming. Shout out to Jackie Quackenbush. Alex Abamonte's coming from work. We used to work together. So if you're in Connecticut, come out to Fairfield on Saturday night. Ross might come to that show because of these logistics I have with where my family is located. God, this is insane. Friday night. So I'm saying this all backwards. First, all right, let's do it in the right order. Thursday night, Jersey City, the Laugh Tour. I'll be emceeing the Thursday show. Friday night, Tilly's Farm Table, I think it's called. Tilly's Farm Table in Westchester County. I believe it's Westchester. It might be Putnam County. I got a show there. It's about an hour north of the city. I'll be featuring. So that's Friday night. Super fun room, it sounds like. And then Saturday, Fairfield, Connecticut. The following week, all those shows. And then Denver is March 22nd through March 28th. Family trip to Denver. I think I have a couple gigs in there, depending on what we're doing with the family. I will see if I actually do those gigs. I think they're on my calendar, on my website, patrickholbert.com. And it's going to be a crazy month. April 19th and 20th. Or no, what are those dates? Yeah, I think April 18th and 19th. That's Sullivan County and Binghamton. And April 26th, Highland, New York, doing Josh Tatum's big fundraiser show. April 25th is the New York City premiere of Tom Dustin, Portrait of a Comedian, at the theater. It's going to be at the Quad Cinemas. I hope I'm allowed to say any of this. Quad Cinema, I don't even know. I think that's a Landmark theater. I got to check. But that's going to be cool. I think Joe's going to be there to do a Q&A after or before or whatever. That'll be like a fun, cool thing for this film to see it in the theater in a real deal thing. You know, this thing is actually going to be out. All right. I think I'm around 40 minutes right now. I got to go. I got to like clean this house, or maybe I don't now that I don't know what's going on. Can you tell I am a mess? I'm not a mess. I'm emotionally okay, but I just feel I would like stability. Should I do some vision work out loud right now? So I think I'm going to be cutting some more comedy specials for another company that shoots them. I just cut one last week. It was pretty fun. I really liked the comic whose special I edited. And I think I'm going to do more, but it's like still not the ideal pay rate. So I got to figure out. I'm down to do editing, and I would love to. The coaching work I do is so chaotic and very challenging in all these different ways, but I have to do it to earn right now, and I would love to taper off of that work and just be a comedian filmmaker. I think that's what I need to be doing, and I can be doing. So I'm just speaking it out into the universe. Perhaps you're watching at home and you're thinking, I have all this money and I have all this footage of this passion project. I need somebody to edit it. So if you need an emotionally sensitive, funny editor, I want to make stuff for people who have a budget. Because if you don't have a budget, I have to earn other ways. And like, I'm so down. I appreciate people who just make stuff and they get money elsewhere, but I'm like, I just can't work for free. So, what was the point? Where was I getting? What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So I just have to take other work to like make a living. And, yeah, the film, the Tom Dustin film just came out so great. And I really think that's a big thing I would sell myself on, is that because I'm funny, I knew how to edit that film in a funny way. And because I'm a sensitive, emotional person, I was able to put the story together in a way that made like the emotional part make sense. So I'm very proud of it. I didn't do it alone, of course. Joe was directing, but like I think we worked together and made this really beautiful thing, and I would love to work on more projects like that. So anyway, maybe that's just an out loud prayer to God or the programmers who are creating this whole simulation. Shout out to Gastor. Congrats on your first directorial debut. He directed Julio Diaz's comedy special that shot last night and is shooting again tonight. Proud of you, man. That's awesome. So if you're a fan of Gastor and that's funny. If you're a fan of Gastor or Anna Gastor, what is her name? Anna Gastar from SNL. Anyway, if you're a fan of Gastor's, look out for that special. Ralph Barbosa producing, I think. I don't know. Just a crew of hilarious guys and great guys. So yeah, we're just trying to make stuff, and I'm trying to do it solvently. Okay. Goodbye for real.